Welcome to Intersection Chats. I am here today with Rana. So excited for having this conversation. My name is Reme Mancera. I am a personal brand story strategist. And welcome, Rana. Thank you for accepting this invitation. So excited to having this conversation today.
Thank you so much, Remy. I'm really excited to do this with you. And honestly, it's been long waiting. We've been planning to do stuff together, but I'm really happy that we finally aligned our schedules, and I'm here with you today.
Yeah, please, before we start into the conversation, tell us a bit about what you do and what is your
Sure.
work about.
Well, I'm a communication strategist. I have international experience in working with organizations or with individuals, with professionals. Specifically, I enjoy working with them on building a personal brand, building their reputation in such a way that it positively impacts their business or their career. So I help them basically to become better communicators of their value. And I have a consultancy, and this is basically the work that I do every day.
Amazing. And this is such an interesting opportunity because both of us, we work around personal brand strategy. You have a lot
Yes.
of expertise around the topics. You have a really great podcast around personal brand strategy and all the sites and fields that are connected to that. So really looking forward to this chat.
Me too. Me too. There's a lot of intersection there. So we'll definitely dig in.
Yeah. So, okay, let's start by your telling us your experience on how, when you work with clients, there is a connection between communication strategy and personal brand story specifically.
Yes, there is a huge connection between personal brand story and between the communication strategy. And in its essence, actually, the story is basically the foundation. It's the DNA of who you are as a person, and that's your personal brand. Your reputation is built on that story. So the connection between communication strategy and the personal brand story is basically like two faces to the same coin. You know, they are the story is the filter where all the messages go through, and communication is basically the platform that kind of elevates that message to and broadcasts it. So to kind of simplify, what does this intersection looks like? Your story is basically your why, your what. The communication strategy becomes the how, the where. So if we have the alignment between your story, your personal brand story, and your communication strategy, this is where the magic happens. This is where you're able to articulate your messages correctly. You're able to connect with the right people, whether they are your clients, your customers, or whether they are peers within the industry or other people within the industry. You're able to basically be in a position where opportunities come to you, the right opportunities come to you. When there is misalignment, this is where the chaos happens. And from my experience, my work with entrepreneurs, with business owners, is that when there's that misalignment, this is where they see a lot of the, as I mentioned it, as chaos. So basically they start struggling. They are unable to articulate the message. They're unable to showcase the brilliance that they have, the experience, the way of thinking, their values, their mission, even articulating what they are all about as a business owner. And at the same time, this misalignment, this chaos happens, where then you start connecting either with the wrong type of customer, or you're not being heard, you're not being seen, you're basically invisible. So this is where the connection between communication strategy and personal brand story happen. It's they're one and the same, if you want.
Hmm, I love that approach, and this is something that I feel like is so important when, and I know that you have talked about this in your podcast and your content is like when you don't have the foundations, you might be doing tactics to try to get visible, but then you are not actually working on the strategy first and having an intention and your specific goals to have, okay, what do I want to achieve with that, how I am going to communicate, what is the goal of this communication, and then how I use my personal brand story, my personal brand foundations in my strategy to put that into the communication that I do. So everything is like makes sense, is aligned. And then you can highlight that those things that make you different, those things that will help you to showcase your authority, your trust, and your credibility. And something that I want to, because with the work of personal brand story, and that is like the authenticity, you are
Yes,
showing who you are and why this work is important to you. But I
yes,
know that you use this term of curated authenticity. I would
yes.
love for you to share a bit about that concept.
Yes. Okay, so let's just put it this way. When you, again, this the story is you. This is what my personal brand is basically, if we take the words out, my reputation is built on who I am. That's my story. Who I am, what do I do, what do I stand for, what are my values, and what are certain things that are authentically me, that puts me apart from the competition out there. So that's where the story is. Communication plays this is where the story plays a role in the communication strategy. So, having a solid story, and I want to make this clear before the authenticity part. Having a solid story, having a really, you really know which parts of everything that you are, that you need people to know about. Without having a good communication strategy, basically the result is that you're invisible. You're great, but nobody knows you. You're the best kept secret. Okay. Having a great strategy, you have someone maybe on board, or you yourself, and you just know what you want to do in terms of strategically communicating your points, but you don't have a solid story. You're like all over the place, your thoughts are all over the place. The result of that is basically hollow. This is where it's inauthentic. So
Hmm.
that's where authenticity plays a role. So if you want to look at it, how does your story impacts your communication? I believe it impacts it in different ways. The first one is in your positioning. It's basically your reputation. And this is where the story, um, or what you are, who you are, this is where the story helps you in controlling the narrative. So when we say, I have a reputation for XYZ, it's because of parts of my story, parts of who I am, makes me have that kind of positioning. And controlling the narrative, just to be clear, it's not manipulation, but it's exactly highlighting parts of who you are in your story that will get you to the goal that you want to get to, as a business owner, as a professional, whatever it is. So, the first thing that the story plays in communication for that authenticity is your positioning. This is your reputation. The second part that it plays a role in is in the content, it's in the communication. And so it's in the messaging. When your story, when you have clarity on who you are, what you stand for, and all of that, your messaging automatically becomes clear, because you are able to connect the gap in the middle and the end consumer, but whether it is your audience, your clients, your peers within the industry, if you're building thought leadership, they will be able to see that connection of what you stand for and what kind of impact that you are trying to make, or a dent that you're trying to make, or what will make you unique in the place that you are working in that space in the market. And the third way that your story plays in communication is for anything that is external communication. So we're talking here about media relations. We're talking about putting yourself in a position where you are a key speaker, keynote speaker, for example. You are in a interview in a podcast. So your story helps you to become memorable. So it helps you in your positioning, it helps you in your messaging, and it helps you in connection. So by having this trifecta, this is where, when we say authenticity, this is where you're being authentic. it's not the same kind of authenticity that is being put out there, which is equivalent to social media influencers. You're not,
Mm,
either a business owner or you are a professional working in an organization, and your goal is to, reach a certain C-level position, or you are a person who are at a C-suite and you're building your thought leadership because that's how you want to, not only push the messaging of the company that you work in, but also attract the right clients, become a player in the industry that you're in. So authenticity is very much different on a professional level. And curated authenticity is when you pick and choose from your story the things that will help you to connect in the right way with the audience, with that particular audience, for a particular message or a particular goal. Now, remember, the way you articulate or you communicate your message on LinkedIn while you're connecting is very different than when you are creating content. It's very different when you are a keynote speaker. It's very different. The story is the core, the story doesn't change. But the way you articulate that message, depending, so context is
yeah.
really important. And that's where, when I say curated authenticity, it's like you pick and choose from that box where you're getting that message to the right audience in the format that is correct for them to accept and take that message and then take an action after it. And that action could be whatever the goal of that message is: to build trust, to build connection, to take an action on a particular thing like working with you, or to take an action of you're hiring, so people seeing the culture and the background of the company and applying to work with you. That would be the end goal.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that angle because it's like explaining how you can be authentic and you don't need to overshare. You can be authentic and you don't need to pretend to be someone else or make up things. It's just about who you are, but it's about choosing specifically what you want to share and
Yes.
having like the strategic point of view of deciding why you are sharing certain things and how that is connected to the work that you want to do or how it's connected to that goal that you have. And this like so aligned with the way that I work, around stories, because it's like
Exactly.
the 10
Exactly.
story connectors, they are basically connecting like, okay, what is your audience, what is your proposal, and then having that in mind, let's explore your journey and identify which of these meaningful moments you want to share and how each of them is connected to something that it will show who you are. It will show why this work that you do is important for you, how your approach is different to other people that are offering something similar. So I feel that this is something so important to have in mind. Like, again, back to the strategy point, like
Yeah.
who is the people that you want to talk to, reach out. So having that in mind and then choosing what you are sharing in a way, or sharing in a way that makes sense for that connection that you want to build. And
And
connect
context.
context, exactly. This is like
And context.
one of, yeah, one of the three factors that I highlight that you uh, use your personal brand story for is like connection, context, and contrast. Contrast
Yes.
because show what is different, and connection is showing that you are someone relatable, and of course context because then it's understanding, okay, what has been the journey of this person and how I trust them for that journey and for that
Yeah.
positioning.
I really love that you said connection, context, and
Contrast.
and contrast, because it translates exactly to what I've just said. The contrast is your positioning.
Yeah.
So you're not just any consultant who works on helping entrepreneurs do a personal brand. You are, for example, the consultant who works with entrepreneurs who want to build a personal brand that impacts their lead generation. So the more like dialed
Yeah.
in that you are, this is the contrast. It keeps you apart. It's your positioning, and you're not lost in the crowd. The context is the one that you're basically in your messaging. Because then again, if you want to say this, if you want to say one story, let's say you know, but let's make it more lifestyle. You went on holiday and you're coming back and you want to share what happened on the holiday. The way you share what happened with a group of friends over dinner, the same story. The story stays the same, but the way you share it and what you pick from what happened in that story with friends over dinner is very different from what you would share parts of that story. It's still the same story with, let's say, your grandparents or your boss, you know? And it's very
Yeah.
different if you're trying to explain something to your nephew or your niece who are, you know, I don't know, 11. So this is the context is really important. And where do you share it? Is it an online discussion? Is it on social media? Is it in front of video? Is it in person? That's all part of the context. And the connection is there. In the end, we communicate to connect with people. We
Yeah.
want to build a network a really strong network around us. That's part of the communication. We want to have a reputation where people see us as an option to work with. This is a kind of communication, whether it's going to be through content creation or publicity or anything of that sort. You want to be taken as a thought leadership. You want to publish a book. You want to be a keynote speaker. It's another level of communication. So your strategy is a mix of all of those tools, and it's not just content on social media, just to be
Yeah.
clear.
Yes. Yeah,
It's not just
I
that.
yeah, I feel that sometimes because there is kind of a misunderstanding around what is communication and how again the same with what is a personal brand. Sometimes people think that is an Instagram account, that's or is a logo, or it's like, yeah, there is so much there. And I love how both of us we go really deeply to the foundations. That's so important, and then from there you can adjust. And as you said, depending on the context, depending on the platform, you are adjusting that story to that space. But when
Exactly.
you have clarity on what is the message that you want to convey, and what are your key factors in what you offer, then it's like, okay, no matter if there is a new social media channel that now is a new platform there, you will adjust and will know how to present your message there, but the foundations will be the same, so you don't
It will
need to
be the same.
start. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can't forget consistency, because in the end your reputation is built on consistency. And consistency in that form means that the person that they're going to see in real life is the person that they see
Yes.
online, is the person that they see, for example, in a social gathering. um, Again, contextualizing, of course, but it is the same person. So this is when we talked about the alignment between your communication and your brand story. This is where authenticity happens, because if you're trying to emulate someone else without putting your like your personality into it. And this happens a lot on social media, where they say, oh, if because a lot of people, kind of, unfortunately, we're at a place where number of followers is equal to a reputation. but but
Mm,
but it isn't, because if you emulate to try to get a certain number of followers or a certain number of whatever status that you want on social media, without having a core at it, without having really the solid base over there, it's a hollow creation you're making.
yeah.
And you will be put in a position at one point, sooner or later, where for you to kind of commercialize this relationship with the followers, if you're a business owner, you want to get clients, or if you are a professional, you want to grow, so you want to be introduced to executives in other companies so that you can go up the hiring ladder. Um, you won't have that kind of connection, because the connection did not occur on a core that is really solid. So in the sense, for entrepreneurs, for example, this is where their services becomes a commodity. So they
Mhm.
become just another consultant, or they become just another graphic designer. And when you're just another X, you the only way to survive as a business owner is basically to commoditize your services. So this is where you get unaligned customers. This is where you have conversations where it is just rotating around pricing. This is where you might not even attract any kind of the clients that you're, or the projects that you want to take, or to create a network around you that is the network that you will need. And they, it's like a reciprocatory relationship where they need you and you need them, for everyone in that community to grow. So it's really important to really understand that those foundations are not something that is not pragmatic. It is very pragmatic, and it is very realistic, because you know I'll give you an example, which is really funny, but you'll understand what I mean. The first time I got a personal trainer, he told me I need 3 months. That's what he said. The first month, the changes, you will be the only person who's going to see it. The second month, your close circle will be able to see the changes. By month three, everybody will be seeing it, which means everything that is sustainable and that is ready to grow needs time, you
Yes.
know? And I know there's a lot of talk out there about, you need to do this and you need to do that, except for your reputation. It needs time and it needs trust. And without that trust, and of course, the communication and having a solid base, or the DNA has to be solid, then it's just hollow. It's absolutely,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel this having that solid core is like fundamental.
Yeah.
Even it make it, it makes things easier because when you have that clarity, it's easier for you to plan strategy and to decide on your business or on your project. Because it's like when you have not clarity, you are trying things and okay, this person is suggesting that I do this. This other guru is telling me that I should do this. And then it's all the shoots, and you are just jumping from one thing to another, but
To
you
another.
don't have that clarity of, okay, this is my path. I know that I want to try this. As you said, you give that thing some time. And then the consistency, that doesn't mean that because sometimes feels, at least for me, feels like when people hear consistency, they think, oh, I need to share, I need to be publishing every day in my social media, or I need to be, I don't know what, doing like an email per day or whatever. It's like, doesn't mean like what type of consistency. It means that you are consistently be in front of that audience, or that, or in the path that you want to build, in that roadmap that you create with your strategy. And in Spanish, we have a saying of starting the house, building the roof. So,
Okay.
which is like you are doing things in the not
The
the
other way
right
around. Yeah, yeah.
order.
I like that. I like that. I'll use that one time. You start the house, you don't build the roof. Yeah, I like
Because
that.
it's like how you are, let's say, planning a content, a social media content planning, but you don't
Yeah,
have the foundations of, okay, what is your strategy in communication, what is the messaging that you want to share, what is the goal that you have with these specific actions. So sometimes we go to the, yeah, I have this planner that, yeah,
yeah,
you can have it in plate or whatever. That's not that can be something that is useful, but first think about, okay, what is actually what I want to share, what is the goal of my communication. As you say, it can be different things because you can have different goals. So having that, how, if you don't have a communication strategy or a strategy in general, how will you check if you get results or not?
exactly,
You are
exactly.
just trying.
Yeah, and this is honestly, if we turn it the other way around, like, so we spoke how the your story. So your brand, the personal brand, your reputation. So your personal brand story affects the communication. If we just turn it around and say, what does communication strategy, the strategy of communication, affects your personal brand story in a positive way, or or whatever. And a caveat before I kind of say what they are: when we say communication strategy, it's everything that you need to communicate. So it's not just content marketing, it's like a toolbox of things. So it's between anything that is in person or online, content strategy, email marketing, media and publicity and PR and media relations and all of that, speaking opportunities. There is a whole list of things that you have within your communication strategy. So, what a communication strategy really helps in your story is that it it helps you when you have a solid communication strategy. It helps you to dictate the platform that you're going to use and um, how can I say, how do you adapt your story to that platform. So that's what
Mm.
a communication strategy helps your brand story. So that this is really important, because the platform that you're going to use, it could be any platform. So it could be, as I said, you could be speaking on a stage. That's a platform. You could be connecting with people and trying to build a network on LinkedIn. It could be anything to do with media relations and publicity, your email newsletter, and what do you do to create that kind of community. If you have a paid community, how do you do it? So any platform that where you need to communicate, the communication strategy helps the person know which platforms are the right platforms for them, for their goal, for their North Star, and how to adapt that story to that platform. So that's the first
Mm.
thing that communication strategy plays a really important role. The second thing that it would definitely help is that it will reveal the holes in your story. And let me just say that. So we are who we are. We have our experiences, our thoughts, our values, everything. And of course, what do we offer that is uniquely to us? When we share our story, some parts of our story will land and some parts of our story wouldn't. And that's not because our story is wrong, but there's a hole in that part that didn't land, that will need some kind of refining. So the more consistent you are in utilizing the different tools in your communication strategy, the more refined your story will get with time, because you will be able, every time you communicate, you will be able to have that feedback where you know which part of your story could be a previous experience, it could be a personal learning, a struggle that happened, and it could be something that lands so well, and this is something strong. I know that I can use this when I am trying to achieve a certain outcome. But then part of your story, it's not landing, and you just need to know, what do I need to do, not change the story, but what do I need to do to best articulate that part so that I can help it to land better for the outcome that I want in return. So communication will help you to do that, and the consistency will help you to do that. And this is a very important role. This is a very important thing. Why? And I want to be mindful of saying this. This kind of articulation will help you find your voice. And when you find your voice, voice in writing or a voice in verbal, when you find your voice, this is what, again, the third thing that a communication strategy does. This will make you memorable, because then things that you would say, people would know to refer it back to you. Oh, I believe Rana said that, or I believe Reme said that, or the way you say things, people will remember it. And we know that storytelling or having a different way of articulating a particular message will help people to kind of remember certain things much faster than a list would do, or a quick reel would do, or a quick post would do. So these are three things that your communication strategy will help your brand story. And again, we go back to when I said in the beginning, it's the same coin, it's two faces to the same coin. Your story and the way you communicate it within a strategy or within the toolbox that you have, it's one and the same. Yeah.
Mm, yeah, and I really like this idea of how when you communicate your story, you see the holes, and then you use the feedback, or you see the interactions that, or the not interactions in the same.
Yeah.
For example, I remember when, like practicing how I introduce myself, I was doing a lot of online networking.
Yes.
So every time that I introduce myself, I can see the faces that they are not understanding, they get attached, they are interested or not. And I was like every time refining my messaging there when because of that feedback. Even if they don't say
Exactly.
anything, I was
Exactly.
like noticing if they were like, what she means with that? Or they were like really leaning to, oh, I want to hear more. I can see how she get excited, and then they are curious about it. So, and I really appreciate you explaining this idea of communication is more than what maybe people might think at the beginning, because it's like this idea, and I feel like nowadays it's even more important, how communication is like only channel you are yourself, and how if I interact with you in a platform, I want to be a consistent experience. If I go to your email newsletter, if I
Mm,
go to your YouTube channel, it doesn't mean, of course there will be nuances and
of
adjusted to
course.
the platform, but overall there will be a similar experience because I am interacting with you or getting your communication.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is really important, especially when you are trying to convey a certain value, let's say innovation, creativity, approachability, how the interaction with you is showing those values is so important. If you want to be looking someone approachable, and then your email are really cold, and it feels like it's a
It's a different
corporate,
person.
no human there,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, how this is connecting with this other approachable side in my social media that I am seeing of that person. So I feel like that's something that sometimes we don't take into consideration, and I feel like it's also important how the coherence between the different channels as well, in terms of the communication that you are trying, and also what are their values and how you are applying those into the things that you do, into how you share your messaging. I feel
Yeah.
that there is a also something to think about. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, and there are a couple of couple of things that would happen, that could happen, that results in this disconnect also. One of the thing is, like, I don't want to say crisis communication or reputation management, but when you're doing, let's say you're doing everything by the book and your communication is consistent, and it's across the board consistency in terms of the really proper reflection of who you are, your personal brand, into everything that you communicate, but there's still a disconnect in terms of the connection between you and the audience. This is where we need to kind of stop and reflect. And this is honestly, I've especially the last few clients that I had, even the most recent ones, a lot of entrepreneurs feel that kind of disconnection. And that is because, and we have to be really mindful of this, your story is you, and you as a person, you evolve.
Mm,
So you evolve as a business owner, you evolve as a professional, you grow, you evolve in terms of not just skills, but just also in terms of mindset, in terms of learnings, life lessons, work lessons, all of that. So you evolve, and so does the your story should evolve with you. And that disconnect, that first type of disconnect, happens when your story hasn't been evolving with you. So this is where you have, for example, business owners who are brilliant and great, and they were doing really well, and they started with a particular niche, but few years later into their business, either their niche expanded, or they have added other things, or changed or pivoted, but their story and their communication did not pivot with them. So this is where the disconnect happens. So sometimes you are consistent, but you're consistent with an outdated message. And it doesn't mean that you take what you're not going to take who you are and just dump it and start over. But this is where your communication strategy will help you to find out that, wait a minute, there is a disconnect in my, there's reputation management. We need to manage our reputation. This disconnect could also happen because of market dynamics. So the market changes. And this is where we're going to talk about it. We have to. This is where AI plays a role. So here we are, and there's market dynamic that changed, and there is the presence of AI. And this is where consistency, if it's not um, put under the microscope, in the sense that you don't lose your voice to the market changes, okay, and you're not consistent by losing your voice because of the market changes, again, you will have a reputation management issue. So when you gave the example of, this is me as a person, but for example, in the emails it's like a different human, it's a robot or something. This is when the reputation management might happen, where we are leaning so much towards AI without having the tendency to make sure that we don't lose our voice in the process. So I mean, we all as business owners, we have to use technologies to grow in whatever way your goals are of growth, whether you are creating a SaaS business or whether you are a lifestyle business. There is everybody has a kind of processes, internal processes to make things easier, and AI will play that role, and it's an amazing role. So, nothing against AI. We're talking specifically about AI and your reputation that creates that disconnect, because the messaging within what's happening, you are hiring AI to be your voice. And we have to be really careful. And it's not just the type of questions that we need to put into AI, or the type of prompts that we need to give so that we can get everything AI. We have to make sure that we don't lose our thoughts and our personal growth, because we are renting our mind to AI. And we have to be really, really careful, because in the end there will be a gap,
Mm.
because AI cannot contextualize things. AI cannot be you within your voice. It can use it, it can take from everything, it will reach a 90%. But in the end, the person who's going to see you in person versus what do they see online, there will be a gap somewhere there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we need to be really careful in the sense of, okay, how you are just throwing things to AI and getting what it gets, and then using it, or are you making sure that there is like, yeah, you might be using AI and this is a tool, as you say, it's a tool that we are going to incorporate in a way or another in our businesses, but how you use that tool, that will be key. Same with
Yeah.
other kind of tools, and it feels like it's like something that is magic and is going to make everything for you, but you need to be pay attention on how you are making the instruction, how you are making sure to review the results, how. So all of that, again, going back to the foundations, you need to be sure about what is the strategy that you have in place and how AI can be a tool for helping you in that process, in one part of the process or whatever. But then it's like, okay, are you checking and making sure that everything is aligned
Aligned. Yeah.
with your voice, is sharing what you want. So yeah, I really, and I think that this is too important, like when you are sharing something, is your reputation, is your voice, so make sure that's there and is aligned with you, and you will sign that message. So it's not just
Absolutely.
sharing like blindly. And then when you mentioned about the pivoting, I know for myself and for clients of mine, how when you are doing that pivoting, and sometimes you are in a situation where maybe your website is not aligned with what you are sharing now or what you are offering now, and you feel kind of shame to share your own website because it doesn't feel
Yeah.
like yourself anymore.
We
So
all went through that.
this like, if your business is still going on, you will evolve and your business will evolve, and you will need to refresh how you introduce yourself, how your about me page look like, and how you use your personal brand story, and how when you evolve, maybe what you are doing in the past will become part of that, and you will use that. But you need
Exactly.
to refresh and make sure that, yeah, this is what I want to share now, and this is why I am sharing now. And yeah, it's something, it's an evolution. It's not something that you do once and it's done. Same with communication strategy.
Absolutely.
It will change, and your goals will change. So it makes sense for you to review that, and makes sense that the platform that you are using are the ones that make sense for you in this stage of your business or your
Exactly.
project. So it's a work in progress, and I feel like with having clarity in the foundations, it's easier for you to move to the next stage because you have clarity of what are the assets, and then you can refine things. But you are not starting from scratch, you are starting from a place that you know what you feel comfortable sharing, how you, what is your communication style, what platforms are more natural to you. All of that will play a huge place in considering the new pivoting that you are going to do in your
Absolutely.
communication.
Absolutely, absolutely. And especially what you are able to be consistently on. So if we become tactical, like if let's just talk tactics, you have a lot of people, a lot of people who are very successful at what they do. And if their presence online is written form on LinkedIn, no pictures, no videos, not but written form on LinkedIn. So I'm not saying that, those tips that says the hook and these add, but if we really start going through some of the success stories out there, they are very successful in what they do. Their businesses are doing really great, and they are using a form that is comfortable to them. And it might be not what is common and what's out there, but what will make them successful is not that they're riding the wave of algorithms, but it's because what's in the message, it's because what's in the material that they are sharing, what's in the communication that they are sharing. There are people who went on stages like, TEDx or something like that, that might have very, very small following, but their impact is big, and the impact on the people that is relevant to them is big. So yes, it is sometimes very tempting to say, oh my god, I need to do this. I saw this latest tip that says I need to do that, or I need to show up in this particular way. And my tip to them is that if that tip is a reflection really of something that you are in real life, it is something that is very much mirroring who you are, by all means do it. But you will find results when there is consistency, and then there is a particular clear KPIs of what exactly you are monitoring. So the monitoring should not be only on, and people call it vanity metrics, but it's not just the followers or anything. But when you're a business owner, your monitoring maybe could be something like how many people actually went from that post and checked my website, how many website visits did I get, how many people clicked on the more information and filled up the form, how many people sent DMs, how many connections that I requested on LinkedIn and I actually got an immediate yes. How what is the email rate opening? Like sometimes that what you need to monitor is very different from what is really out there, because that things that you monitor is actually what's going to give you the result in the end. As a business owner, you want to make money, you want to, you want your business to be afloat. So that's really important to really, really hone in on that. Yeah.
Mm. 100%, like being really intentional. And again, you are doing something that's part of the strategy of planning strategy. You are planning what you are going to do, and then you are planning how you are going
Yeah,
to see if that is getting results or not. It doesn't need to be this complex dashboard of millions of numbers. Can be just one metric, but having clarity in which is the right metric to check sometimes
exactly.
it's so important, because it's like, yeah, you can have a lot of followers, but that those are qualified followers. It's like when people try to go viral. Yeah, you can be viral, but this, if it's not the people that might be interested in what you offer, and you want to use that as a business owner, doesn't make sense. So why are you putting your efforts there? It's maybe even the opposite is doing a damage to your brand and to your reputation. So sometimes we need to be really careful with that, because there are
Yeah,
like advice that is one goal that maybe is not useful for you at all, and maybe your business model doesn't have anything to do to someone else that is working around volume of people in their email list, and maybe you are
yeah,
a premium service one-on-one base. So for you, maybe you need to do something totally opposite and will not be the same advice. So having in mind what is the business that you have, what is the model, and what is the lifestyle that you want, because maybe for that goal you will need a team of 10, 20 people, and that's not your goal or your business model that you want to go there. So having clarity on again the foundations, I feel that's so important to then analyze, okay, this advice makes sense for me, or is an advice that is not good for my type of business that I want to build here.
yeah. And which season of work, season
Yeah.
of business you're in? You know, if you're a solopreneur, focus. You know what I mean? Focus your efforts. Try to kind of dominate on one particular platform, maximum two. And platform, not just social media. I mean, one particular platform when it comes in your communication strategy, one or maximum two, because you're alone. If you are a 10 person agency, that's a little bit different. Your
Yeah.
communication will include or should include, um, this is something that I recommend. It should include employee advocacy. They are
Mm,
also, brand advocates, and they should be also out there, and their personal brand amplifies the business brand and amplifies you as a founder of the company or the agency. If you're 100 employee, it's a totally different. You probably have a department of, a communication and marcom department, and the dynamics would be different because the product or the services that you're selling would be different.
yeah.
So every season is different, and therefore just like focus on where exactly you are in your season, what is reasonable and doable, okay, and what is the best the best thing that is out there that can get you the maximum outcome. There's no perfect outcome, but the
Mm,
maximum outcome, and
yeah.
and then go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will not have time to go in that conversation, but
Yeah.
employee personal brand, I feel that that's something that you touch, and it's really something that is sometimes is overlooked. And I
Yes.
feel like that could be so powerful in
Yes.
terms of not just the external communication, but the belonging feeling of your
Yes.
employees and all of that. So yeah, maybe that's a conversation for another chat to cover
For
all
sure. Yeah.
that.
Big one. It's a big one. That's true. It's a big one.
Yeah. Okay. So before we wrap up, I don't know if there is any thought or message that you want to share, something that we haven't covered and you feel like it's important for us to highlight.
Oh my God, we've covered so much. All I want to say is just actually to hammer something, and that is your story is you, and it should be something that is dynamic, not static. Just like you are dynamic and you're not static, and your communication is who you are, and your communication is two sides to the same coin. So this is something that I hope could be a mindset shift, because I know there's like uh, a lot of shiny object syndrome out there of people trying to drag you into different directions. And then what I would always say is go back to the basics, because when you go back to the basics and you really do your homework and you really do your steps, this is actually could create a huge impact more than you can think. So this is what I wanted to like re-hammer this message, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so to summary this conversation, I always invite my guests to use a couple of words that can convey that connection between, in this case, personal brand story and communication strategy. What will be your way of summarizing that?
um, I'll go back to the three C's for me, which is credibility, connection, and clarity. So I would start with clarity. When you have clarity of who you are, what do you bring to the tables, what is uniquely you, this will create and will start building a foundation that will be strong enough for the credibility part. Because when you are able to articulate your message clearly and consistently across the different platforms that you are in, you start building trust, and trust builds credibility. And the trust and the credibility will land you the connection. So, the connection, whether you are in the room or not, people will mention you. The connection of opportunities finding you because you're the right person for that particular opportunity, whether you are a working professional or you are a business owner, or the connection is connecting within a community of peers or industry leaders, or connecting with your audience, the audience that will um, your work will positively impact them, and their connection with you would positively impact your business. So I would go back to these three C's for sure.
Nice. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And for me, I would say foundational pillars. I feel
Oh,
like
yes.
both of them, like that combination of using in a strategic way in your communication, your personal brand story, and how they feed each other. I feel like both of that are, yeah, something for your foundations of your business or your career if you are using as a in your
Yes,
promotion. Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, so thank you so much for
Thank
this
you.
conversation. I feel like we might have a second part for covering more things. So thank you so much, and I know that you have several resources that might be helpful for people if they are interested in learning more about what you do. So how people can learn more about your work and how you help people.
Well, they can find me on LinkedIn on Rana Mawad. And of course, there's my website, ranamawad.com, where they will find free resources. I have a lot of things that they can download, or there's the podcast, as well as other ways to work with me. But they'll definitely find me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, the links are in the description so people will have easy access. So thank you so much. And thank you, anyone who has been live or watched the replay. Until the next time. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.